Uh-oh. Oh, there's going to be controversy now, baby. Here on America's #1 talk radio debacle, the insanely fabulous, tentacle-laden, ever-reaching Clark the Shark show right here from the golden EIB Sharkerphone. It's never a microphone, baby, because it's Clark the Shark, the expert on all things life, the professor, the PhD, the MD, Dr. Shark, where I'm going to talk about an album that didn't change my life at all by a band that really got swept up in something that wasn't fair and they didn't deserve or something. I can't really put my finger on it. I know I say that a lot, or I can't describe nor define why so many people in the 1980s got into this. Now, me, Clark the Shark, I'm from Redondo Beach, Torrance, Hermosa Beach, the South Bay, Los Angeles, California suburbs of white people back in the day. I'm sure today now the South Bay is not white anymore. It's colored with our ethnic friends from all over the world, many of whom are not even citizens, who have a driver's license given to them by the California Democrat Party so that they'll vote Democrat forever. And wink, wink, nod, nod. The Republicans are like, well, we're not racist. We love it because these people you give a license to, they will work real dirt cheap on our houses up in Palos Verdes or wherever, Beverly Hills, Rancho Santa Fe, wherever rich white people congregate. And they're so open-minded. They're like, if you don't like it, Clark the Shark, you can just leave. You're just nothing but a racist. These white people who've never met a black person in their life from Palos Verdes, or I can't say Torrance now because there's blacks all over Torrance. But me, Clark the Shark, I intimately know black people because my wife is black. So I can fucking talk shit about blacks all I want because I know them. Now, when other white people do this, I don't really like it unless you really do know blacks. And I don't just mean your coworkers at work. I mean the way Clark the Shark knows blacks. I don't want you fucking saying shit about blacks if you're white from Torrance or Redondo Beach or Hermosa Beach, if you don't really understand the whole black thing like I do, Clark the Shark. Now, some white people are perceptive and they have radar and they're like, back off, Clark the Shark. I'm going to fucking say what I will. And I'm amazed that sometimes they're just accurate, I'm not going to say either way, good, bad, whatever there. I'm just going to let that one be. But sometimes when someone's just a racist asshole, they actually get it right, you guys, when talking about our friends here in America from Black society. I'm sorry, I'm just going to tell it and say it like it is. And I'm sure the Grateful Dead would disagree with Clark the Shark, but they don't probably know many black people either, and they're certainly not married to them like Clark the Shark is. Not was, is currently. And this doesn't give me any right or any special knowledge, you guys, at all. Clark the Shark doesn't come really from a place of anything better than any of you, but like I have experience or something. I'm sorry, I gotta say it again. I can't put my finger on what it is about Clark the Shark that is so sincere and great and honest and like from the mouth of babes, and I tell it like it is. But I do, you guys, and the South Bay doesn't like it. My family, Redondo and Torrance, they're like, Clark the Shark lives in his own little world. He never knows what he's talking about. He's really not that good. He's mediocre. And then sometimes they're like a backhanded compliment. They're like, well, he's really good. Too bad he's such a jerk and he doesn't deserve to be really good. You know, it's always some fucking shit like that with Clark the Shark. And I can kind of say something sort of like that when I'm describing things in life, like the Grateful Dead. Now, back in the 80s, in Redondo Beach, Torrance, there was a guy named Mike O'Brien who was really into punk rock, Black Flag. I mean, this guy had every PIL, Johnny Lydon, Sex Pistols, you know, or other punk albums, you know, Black Flag and all this shit in his record collection. And I already knew about Black Flag, but this guy reinforced it to me. Every time I went around him, we had to play some Black Flag. And then one day he was all, hey, Clark the Shark, did you know that Greg Ginn, you know, that guitar player from Black Flag, you guys, he's into the Grateful Dead? And I'm like, dude, O'Brien, it's just because, you know, the Dead, you know, marijuana, weed, you know, that liberal flower power, you know, culture, whatever it is. And it goes with Greg Ginn, who infamously or famously was and probably still is a huge intaker, stoner / marijuana guy. And I don't know, marijuana is a link with, you know, heavy metal and the Grateful Dead, or punk and the Grateful Dead, or, you know, just rock and roll, blues, jazz, psychedelia, whatever, and the Grateful Dead, you guys. In the South Bay, Torrance, Redondo Beach, Palos Verdes, Gardena, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, Lomita, marijuana still is and was this big thing, a big holdover, I guess, from the 1960s. And me, Clark the Shark, I grew up in Redondo Beach in the 80s when people were dropping acid and smoking tons of weed, and I didn't really partake a lot until later on, you guys, when I quit drinking alcohol. I had to keep doing something to, you know how you always have to have a vice, like you drink more coffee or something, you know. And marijuana after 1995 was this thing where I was like, hey, you know what? This ain't so bad. I should have been more into this earlier. But I think in the 80s, you know, the cliche about everyone smoking weed or getting into the Dead, I didn't want to be part of that cliche too much. But somehow me, Clark the Shark, I got dragged off and into probably 30 Grateful Dead shows or more, you guys. And I'm just a real newbie rookie at the Dead. By the time the 1990s rolled around, you know, in the days where like Jerry Garcia died, I was long gone, you guys. I didn't care about much anymore. And when he, like, I guess he passed away in 1995, I barely noticed or even cared at all. But in the 80s, you guys, and probably before my time in the mid to late 70s, this Grateful Dead carnival, this traveling road show, was still going on, going everywhere. And, you know, me, Clark the Shark, I just got dragged into it. A lot of it was because I was into Black Flag, punk rock, believe that or not, you guys. Take that or leave it, if you will. But somehow me, Clark the Shark, the fact that Greg Ginn was a Deadhead made it okay for me to like the Grateful Dead and go to their shows and dance and all that stuff. And it's kind of a period of my life I regret. and or don't. I look back fondly, kinda on it. And I even remember there were people looking to me like, Clark the Shark, you're a Grateful Dead expert, aren't you? And I remember I was like, no, not really. I was like, kinda, dude. I go to a lot of shows, and it was confusing because me, Clark the Shark, there's this side to me that takes on life, grabs the bull by the horns, and is really realistic, But then when I want to have a little fun and be an idiot, I get high and drunk and go to the Grateful Dead, just like anyone and everyone else, or something like that, right here on the fabulous, amazing Clark the Shark Show from the Golden EIB Sharkerphone. It's not a microphone, you guys. It's a sharkerphone because I'm so heavily experienced at life, the good, the bad, the ugly. I've been rich, I've owned homes, and I've been poor. I've been homeless, sleeping in my car. I've been all around the spectrum of life, you guys. I've done everything. And I've been a deadhead, or, kind of one. Not really. When I go home and look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, Shark, go to the shower and get in that bath and scrub yourself with the radioactive brown dog soap to get this Grateful Dead thing off me. Because honestly, you guys, their studio albums are mediocre and not that good or something. They're not supposed to be, because this, the saying on the street is, they're a live band. Oh yeah, these guys are so great live, aren't they? Like they're really the Who, No, they're not, you guys. Jerry Garcia is a good guitarist, that's about it. And usually you're so high at the show, you don't even know or notice what they're doing. You're just in the crowd dancing with girls or whatever. It's just true. These guys got a lot of money and fame and all this stuff off a big carnival that, how some people just get swept up in something, you guys, and the Dead really did. And it just wasn't fair or something that they got so famous with playing these gigantic shows and all this stuff, all this hype, and they really weren't that good or worth that or something. Sure, they're a solid entertainment, band or something. But these guys are not Led Zeppelin. They're not Jimi Hendrix, and they're not, I'll say it again, the Who or something great like that. When I'm talking about great rock and roll bands, the Grateful Dead does not even register on the Sharky radar, and it doesn't come rocketing, straight to mind. A good time where you're dancing with random girls and getting drunk and stoned and maybe sampling, drugs that you really shouldn't be doing. Just dude, I don't even know what you call that. That comes rocketing straight to mind when you are thinking about, or whatever, discussing the Grateful Dead and its culture and its following. Honestly, the live show that didn't really evolve or something, or, it did, but was based around Jerry Garcia and his singing and his pretty nice sounding guitar. He had homemade or something, some kind of signature guitars that only he played, and he played a guitar solo that only he did. It was a very signature sound, you guys. But there's something blasé or cliche, I don't know what the word is, or mediocre about the Grateful Dead overall in general that you just can't escape, you guys. And I really want to hate this band for their whole entire existence. And I can. You know how there's some things that are so good that you want to hate it, but you can't, Clark the Shark is like that. A lot of people, you guys watch my music videos in the South Bay so heavily. I'm like, these guys really don't hate me, or maybe it's a jealous curiosity or a guilty pleasure. I don't know what it is, but like every night the South Bay, like Redondo, Torrance, Gardena, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, El Segundo. I'm like, really? El Segundo? I don't even really know anyone there. To Long Beach and Anaheim and Costa Mesa, and of course down in San Diego, they, there's people down there that know who Clark the Shark is, or from the swimming pool world or something, and they might be curious. That could be why they watch down there. But all around Southern California, I mean, the Clark the Shark music video thing with the greenhouse effect, GE, is really huge all over America. And a lot of it is, because of me doing my promotion long ago and or now or whatever. But some weeks I don't do anything, you guys. I just let it go by itself, and people just keep on watching, and a lot of you are like, well, it's because of the She's a Bitch and Then You Live, that song, and Are You Making Up Your Mind, Brandy. It's really those two songs and a couple others, It Ain't Easy, and Django Radio, of course, helps stir the pot all over the planet, for GE. No doubt, you guys. But there's definitely something there. And then, of course, people who don't know me from other states or other countries will email me and say, oh, you're great. You're so great, Clark the Shark. And, but then the people who know me, if they take the time to email me, they'll be like, you're improving, you're getting better, but your fingers can't catch up to what you do. Or, it's always a backhanded compliment. Like, that being said, you're really great, Sharky. But, they used to say maybe 15 years ago, you'll never be as good as all of us. Now they're like, Sharky, they leave that alone. And they're like, can you help me get my video seen the way you get your song seen? How do you do it? Or something like that. And I'm like, dude, pay me money and I'll just do it. I'll do it for you. And they're like, just tell us how, Sharky. And I'm like, it's too complicated, you guys. It's too much explaining. It's a big thing what I do, you guys. Getting SEO, which is search engine optimization. That's what SEO stands for, you guys, in case you're wondering. And then web traffic, meaning what Clark the Shark and the Greenhouse Effect get is web traffic. And then many of you discover, oh, there's a link mixed up with Clark the Shark's videos where he's trying to sell something. Or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, of course, you guys, I want to make some money at this. It's not just, music. I mean, I'd love to think everyone's just in love with Clark the Shark and my music. But with Clark the Shark, it's not like the Grateful Dead. I don't get something for almost nothing, you guys, here with me. I got to work hard for everything I get. And it's not like I'm a pretty girl who gets everything just by being a pretty girl. And it's not like I'm a 6'3" guy who works out and all the girls love him because he's 6'3". With Clark the Shark, I got to work, you guys. And now I find having the hit songs on the internet, maybe I don't have to work so hard. The hit songs like She's a Bitch and It Ain't Easy and all those songs, of course, the White Black Thing, people get into like this attraction and they can't get out of it. And then when you got a marketer like me who just keeps feeding it, it's like it's never going to end, you guys. And then pretty soon people are like, well, Clark the Shark is getting annoying. He's kind of like Dave Grohl. Every time we turn on the TV, radio, or we hear about Clark the Shark and we're getting sick of it. It's either that or they're emailing me and they're like, hey, Clark the Shark, some girl will be like, my husband Larry plays guitar and he writes originals and he's got some killer songs, and could you help him get his video seen like you do with the Greenhouse Effect, where everyone sees it and everyone's annoyed by it, they're getting sick of it, and yet they still watch and they want to go back and not just watch, they want to watch even more. Can we want to be internet whores like you, Clark the Shark. And I'm like, yeah, it costs money. It's just like any advertising. When you go on the internet, you go on the web, you gotta pay for shit. And a lot of people want to do it for free, and that's okay. I understand that too, because me, I want to fucking get free shit as much as I can, me being Clark the Shark. But I sometimes Google people's music, and usually I'm not overwhelmed, or I'm underwhelmed or whatever. It's not remarkable or music, or it's not even good. It's actually just bad or something. And it's sad because the guy's girlfriend or wife was raving about it, how great it is. And then me, Clark the Shark, I go and check it out from right here in my studio office with the golden EIB Sharkerphone and all. And I check out Larry's music from, Larry from Playa del Rey or Larry from Monrovia. That's not his real name or real city, but I'll go check it out, and it's not that good. And I usually just don't respond or something. I don't get back to him. Or once in a while, though, on the flip side of the coin, I will discover, and quite accidentally, quite often, sometimes, a really good project where the music is got hooks and verses and choruses and organization. And me, Clark the Shark, I'm like, it's really sad because this could get somewhere, but these guys are all 35 or 40, and they don't understand that in the music industry, that's too late. Sometimes lightning strikes, you never know, and things can happen. But usually, you get a little older, you start having wives and kids and houses and paying the bills, and your music was just another dream that fades away in your life. Now me, Clark the Shark, I got kind of lucky with Greenhouse Effect, as you all know, and that thing just kind of went to rock and roll heaven. But honestly, I got a couple of hit songs, and that's really what does it. When you have really good shit, it might work out for you. If you've got great fucking shit like I got, then it's even better. It's like icing on the fucking proverbial cake. But sometimes there was this band, I think from Florida, that was really good, and I checked it out, and it was awesome. And just like I find things sometimes around Los Angeles, and even the South Bay, that they got maybe one awesome song, or they got a bunch of awesome songs, and I'll try to my best for free to promote it. Or sometimes, I'll get in contact with the artist and say, hey, I'll help you, get your music video seen and heard. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But it takes promotion, you guys. But with the Grateful Dead, it seems like these guys had word on the street that they didn't deserve. And because they really weren't that great, both live and in the studio. It's fun to go, but if you're sober and you stand there and really watch the Grateful Dead, you realize, what the fuck am I doing here? This is stupid, That being said, Jerry Garcia had a signature voice, a signature guitar sound, and to a degree, the Grateful Dead have all that too. Two drummers, and it's interesting, little side note, the guy from the Tubes, Vince Welnick, who later killed himself, he joined the Grateful Dead long after the time that me, Clark the Shark, was really into the Dead. I kind of got out of this, in the late 80s, I guess, and maybe I went to a couple shows in 1991 or 92. I don't remember, but I know that when Jerry Garcia died, I barely even noticed, or, it wasn't like when Harry Nilsson died to me or something like that, or when Frank Zappa died. I was like, just brokenhearted or crying or something, or like when David Bowie died, where I just broke down and almost fainted. But when Jerry Garcia died, I was like, oh, dude, he died? Oh, fuck, man, that's like sad. It was like that, or not even that. I was like, and then I went back to drinking my hot chocolate. But honestly, you guys, all of you who just got way into this, unless it was back in the 60s, like 1967 to 1971, 72, something like that, you know. And even then, you guys, it's overhyped, it's overrated. Their studio albums, good or great as they are at times, are loaded with just a lot of shit, you know, just that is not that great. And you want to try to make it great by listening to it and building it up in your mind. And even when you go to a show, it's the same thing. You want to build the Grateful Dead up like they're great, but you're so drunk and so stoned, you know, and so fucked up out of your mind that in the morning you're like, dude, you don't even remember the show at all or something. Like you were never even there. I'm sorry, you guys. Me, Clark the Shark, I've seen the Dead like over 30 times. And believe you me, there's people that are going to come on this video and email me, and they're going to be like, Clark the Shark, I saw the Dead 400 times. I know them better than you. And it might be true, you guys. There's really old guys who saw the Dead in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s who will be like, you don't get it, Shark. You just don't understand how great they are / were, the legacy, everything. And I'm just like, you guys, honestly, this is a blues, country, rock and roll cliche. They've got a couple of songs, you guys, in the studio that we all know, and maybe even more than a couple. And occasionally, you know, they got a song, you know, like Box of Rain or one of those that is like, you're like, cool, wow, this is pretty good, you know. They do, you guys. There's no doubt about it. Every single Grateful Dead studio album, you know, is kind of a letdown, but they do got good songs here and there. I can't just say, hey, you know, these guys are Who's Next or Quadrophenia or, you know, Exile on Main Street. They're not, you guys. That being said, they definitely do have some kind of quality, both live and in the studio, but it is not consistent. And no, I'm not going to put the Grateful Dead in the top 25 or top 50 of all time. No way. That being said, I also don't want people talking shit about this band. The people that say they suck and hate them, I don't like that either, because sort of like Jethro Tull or Blue Oyster Cult, I'll be like, dude, you don't fucking know what you're talking about. Jerry Garcia had a signature guitar, very interesting. He had a, signature voice. There's some, whether the Dead write them or not, there are some great lyrics all over the place. And it's interesting overall. It's just not as huge and, as interesting and full of hype as it all is made up to be out there. Another weird thing about the Dead is they don't get like a lot of support in the media or something. These guys strictly do it by fans on the street, word of mouth. Whether it's real or deserved or not, it really is true. The Dead is a big party. People go to have fun and dance and get high, get drunk, get wasted on, or drop acid or take various drugs, mushrooms or whatever. Take it or leave it, like it or not, till death do we part, for better or for worse. The Dead have a cult following that is massive, you guys. And whether it is earned, deserved, is almost irrelevant. But to me, Clark the Shark, it's kind of important because I don't like to see things get hype, even if it's not in the media, or if it's just contrived or just forced or really paid for. I like to hear hit songs that are really great. Like me, Clark the Shark, like She's a Bitch and my songs. Some of them are really great. And then some of the early ones with Phil Keegan, like Number One and Coke Snorting, are really great, you guys, like it or not. And a lot of you are like, whoa, it's not just hype. Clark the Shark really is fucking great. His little project is awesome and it deserves, it's kind of ironic that it's overhyped and yet it still deserves to be known as great. That's how the Grateful Dead kind of is. There's a lot of hype on the streets. They don't get a lot of media hype or support or advertising support. It's all about the people on the streets who spread the word of the Grateful Dead like a disease. And you know me, Clark the Shark, hype is hype. Whether it's on the street or in the media, I always say you gotta have talent. You gotta have hit songs. You gotta have great quality and all this stuff, or great singing, great guitar, great drums, or something like that. Or even if you're not that great of a musician, you still gotta have great songs. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show. And the Grateful Dead, love them or hate them, they got, just like the Who and the Stones and the Beatles, they got a few songs, you guys. I'm not just talking about Truckin', and Casey Jones. I'm talking about their whole, all their albums, just their whole career. There is some great music here. I'm just saying it's not worth all the street hype or whatever the hype is that they got. It ain't worth the following, you guys. It ain't worth these gigantic gigs where they're playing in front of 50,000 or 30,000 people. It isn't. You guys can take that however you will. It's true, you guys. That being said, there is something interesting here that even I, Clark the Shark, had to take notice of back in the day. And it wasn't just because Greg Ginn from Black Flag loves the Grateful Dead. That wasn't really it. That might have been it in the South Bay at first. But as time went on, I discovered something here, you guys. I discovered a guy with a signature voice, a signature guitar, and I discovered an interesting band, like it or not, take it or leave it. And whether I, Clark the Shark, liked it or not, maybe there's something there and they deserve all the accolades, you guys. I don't know. But this album here, like many of their other albums, is, kind of, I'm not going to call it run-of-the-mill or cliche. I mean, that wouldn't be fair. I mean, the stars aren't going to be 5s. I know that. Oh, it gets a 4 from AllMusic. Pitchfork gives it a 6. Okay, well, Pitchfork is trying to be honest. Like, you guys, we're giving it like a 6.9 out of 10. That might be too low, you guys. Like maybe a 7 point, a 7.9 or 7.5 would be more accurate, but the first song on this, you guys, The Golden Road to Unlimited Devotion, is a good song. Love it. Jerry's vocals. Weird thing about the Dead is all these songwriters and cover and just like Jerry writes like just one song literally on this album, you guys. And it's almost like this was hurriedly made just to get out there or something. But you guys know Beat It on Down the Line and Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, the Sonny Boy Williamson, and of course live when they play Cold Rain and Snow. That's really good, you guys. That's one of those moments that I, Clark the Shark, can appreciate. Now, the version of Sitting on Top of the World on the album here is pretty good, you guys. And, Jerry, he's developing that signature lead singing on the album here. And, Bob Weir too would chime in, and become pretty talented in his own weird little merry prankster wild way as a Deadsman, but Morning Dew, come on, you guys. Cream Puff War, New Minglewood Blues. Come on, you guys. It's of course the 10-minute song. You guys all know it at the end of it. But the songs on this first album, many of them are frighteningly and shockingly very short. We're like, whoa, what's the Dead trying to get on the radio? Like, you're just confused. It was early, it was way back in the day, you guys, in 1967, the Grateful Dead, the Summer of Love. in some weird way, they're just another band with a psychedelic, bluesy, little country rock and roll thing from 1967, like the Jefferson Airplane, like all that. But really, no, the Grateful Dead are their own entity, you guys. And I don't think they're anywhere near as good as the Jefferson Airplane or the Who or things like that, or Country Joe and the Fish. Come on, dude. They're not even as good as like Paul Revere and the Raiders type good. But there is definitely something interesting enough on this debut album, you guys. The Grateful Dead, self-titled. For better or for worse, whatever it is, whatever it means, whatever it meant, on Warner Brothers in March 1967, when I, Clark the Shark, wasn't even 2 years old yet. I turned 2 on April 27, 1967, a day I don't even remember, you guys, but I'm sure that day there was some Grateful Dead playing and some Jefferson Airplane, you guys, and all kinds of interesting psychedelic, bluesy, country, rock and roll, garage shit, you guys. I'm not going to declare this review Little Sharky's Underground Garage or Psychedelic Garage, or I want to jam down in a garage and I'm going to move the cars down in that underground parking garage. I'm not going to do that, you guys, for the Grateful Dead, because these guys have big shows with 30,000 people. They're just, when I think of the Grateful Dead, I think of gigantic, all these people dancing. But sadly, it's like the people dancing and having a good time are ignoring the band, and they're so high, they're so fucked up on drugs that they don't even take the time to look at this band and appreciate them enough right here on the Clark the Shark Show. At least not the way how the Who, just the crowd is just riveted. You're staring at the Who at every note, at every leap that Pete Townsend does, every time Keith Moon throws a drumstick in the air, Roger Daltrey's twirling the microphone. You are absolutely transfixed by the Who. The Who transcend everything. And to a degree, I can kind of say that about the Doors and a lot of stuff, a lot of great rock and roll. But in some weird way, I say that about the Grateful Dead too, even though the crowd is so fucked up and high. They really should get more sober and try to appreciate this band that really did have a signature sound, like it or not. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show. And take it from me, you guys, I've been to many Grateful Dead shows. I do know this band, and I'm sure there's people around Los Angeles that will be like, dude, I know the Dead more than Shark. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But you just got really the only review that you'll ever need or ever want of the Grateful Dead debut album, you guys, 1967. An album that really doesn't sound like the Dead would come to sound later on, and yet kind of does. I can't figure it out. And of course, these guys would do studio albums after this, American Beauty, Working Man's Dead, and others, where you're just like, wow, they got songs, it's country, it's down home, bluesy, rock and roll. It's kind of a cliche. The Eagles do it better, or maybe the Who does it better. But still, dude, there is definitely something here that's interesting. And above all, very fun, you guys. Don't listen to Clark the Shark always, all the time. Because sometimes, I won't say that I'm like Fonzie, but I'm pretty accurate. And too bad the Grateful Dead still aren't around with Jerry in this capacity, because if they were, I might recommend you to go have a good time and dance and have some fun at the Grateful Dead, but don't do too many drugs, please. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show from the fabulous golden EIB Sharkerphone. It's not a microphone. It was given to me by Dick Clark, you guys, American Bandstand, where he declared me America's #1 rock and roll talk radio show and album reviewer. Forget all those other reviewers, you guys. A lot of them are just heavy metal people into Zeppelin, or they're into the Eagles, or, they're into AC/DC. You got to dig deeper, you guys. This Grateful Dead debut album review by me does not in any way represent Clark the Shark, and everybody knows that. You'll discover I go much deeper when I do reviews of psychedelic rock that's deep, deep underground in 1967, and garage rock in 1966, and even cheesy, shitty, lame rock from the 70s that I, Clark the Shark, like, because I like that candy-assed escapism thing. Take it or leave it, you guys. It's creative. Even more creative than punk rock. And I know all you guys are like, Shark, come on, dude. You're from Redondo, Torrance. You're supposed to be this big punk rock guy. It proves right here that I am when I talk about the Grateful Dead, you guys, because Greg Ginn, the guitarist of Black Flag, he loved the Grateful Dead, and God bless him. Mike O'Brien and me, we formed the band Repeated Beating, where we went and played one gig at Madame Wong's out in Santa Monica, California, one night with Tom Shannon, the late great Tom Shannon, the bassist, of course, of Death and Taxes from the South Bay. And we just made noise, and it was awful, and it was terrible. It was worse than like PIL, Johnny Lydon, or, the worst noise you could think. And that was what made it so beautiful. Repeated Beating, and sometimes I wonder, where is Mike O'Brien from Redondo, the South Bay? Maybe him and Clark the Shark should jam and reform Repeated Beating. Who knows? Kind of in honor of the Grateful Dead as much as in honor, of Black Flag and Greg Ginn, you guys. Who knows? Right here on the Clark the Shark Show, you guys. Go ahead and buy some Dead at Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, and support Jerry Garcia's estate and family. Why not, you guys? He was a great guy, and he's gone, sadly. And this band did soldier on without him, off and on, best they could. And God bless the late, great Vince Welnick of the Dead, and of course, as you know, of the Tubes, who committed suicide. Vince Welnick. Very sad. Don't do that, you guys. And don't use drugs. Be sober. Even if you have to go to something stupid like NA or AA. Don't smoke weed, even though the Democrats in California want you to. And even the Republicans want you to smoke it so that you'll work dirt cheap and just be a moron, doing cheap labor and doing what you're always told. Be yourself and be sober, you guys. And tell them that you heard it from Clark the Shark. Be yourself. Even if you're a fucking bum that sleeps all day, be the best fucking bum that sleeps all day that you can fucking be. And be creative above all. And I'm out of here, people. Peace.